Hey everybody, welcome back to an Angel live stream. I'm Allie. I'll be your host tonight. Today we are bringing back the Wild Brothers. You remember them from Off the Couch into Creation, and now they're here with another series that they've brought to Angel called Trail Hacks. It's streaming right now on Angel. You can check it out at angel.com/trail. Again, that's angel.com/trail. If you haven't checked it out, go right after this live stream and watch it. It's a good time. It's all about learning outdoor skills that honestly we're losing in this day and age. So they help walk us through a lot of those outdoor skills that we need. I will save more of that explanation for the brothers who will be joining us tonight. So you don't just have to hear from me tonight. We're getting to bring all the brothers on. We're going to talk about their show. We have a really fun outdoor challenge that we'll be seeing tonight. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to end the live stream tonight with a Q&A. So as you're watching, if you have any questions for the brothers, put them in the comments. We'll be filtering through those and asking those questions on the stream. So drop them in the comments. I'm excited to hear from you all. Without further ado, I think it's time to bring the brothers to the stream. Let's do that now. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey Allie, hey everyone.
So good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'd love to start for those that are just meeting the Wild Brothers for the first time tonight. Can you guys just go maybe from left to right and introduce yourselves to our audience at home?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. I don't know if it's your left or our left, but I'll just start. Hey guys, my name is Morgan Wild. I'm for Wild Brothers. Yep, and then I'm Kian, and I'm number 3.
My name's Asher, and I'm the youngest, or the baby of the family.
Hey, I'm Hudson, and I'm the second oldest.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'd love to just, dive right in. For those watching tonight that have not seen this show yet, can you guys tell them a little bit about it? What can they expect when they watch this?
Absolutely. Yeah, we really loved making this series together as brothers. It was so much fun. We're really big into survival and outdoor skills, so it was a blast for us. But I think the main reason we made it was because we saw that, our peers in our generation, they're not super comfortable in the wild because really life doesn't demand it of you. We have so much technology around us that from our smartphones, we can know always where we're at, where to get to places. We have, supermarkets that we can get our food from, drive-thrus, all sorts of ways that we can survive in our world. And really none of it is forcing us to go out into the wild and actually use our hands and use God's creations to survive. And so a lot of that knowledge is being lost. And so we really wanted to bring back just basic survival skills to our generation in a fun way. So this series has 26 episodes, and they're shorter form. They're 3 to 5 minutes. And each one, it describes a really important trail hack or survival skill that you need to know to be able to navigate the wild. And also one of the main reasons is that sometimes it's hard to take that first step to get outside and start surviving. It can feel really daunting, and a lot of times we just don't have enough confidence to get out and start doing that. What if I make a fire? What if I burn my house down? Those are the questions that we have, and sometimes survival is dangerous. So learning a few key important skills can really boost your confidence. Once you make your first fire, you realize, hey, this isn't that hard. If I follow a couple of simple rules, I can make my own fire. That's a huge confidence booster for young people. So we're just really passionate about sharing trail skills so that young people are happy to get out, whether that's on a day trip on the water or a day in the snow or a camping trip or a backpacking trip, just to kind of have that knowledge that, hey, I can go out there in the wild and survive.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Can you tell me why you picked the title Trail Hacks? Where did that come from?
I think that was your idea.
That's a great question. Yeah, I think we were just brainstorming one day on something that would be kind of fun, something that would be a little bit Gen Z, a little bit Gen Alpha, and Trail Hacks is what came about because everybody these days are obsessed with hacks, which is shortcuts and little best practices for making your life easier. So we thought, hey, bushcraft, traditional trailman activities can be pretty daunting, like Kian said. And so we want to break these down, make them bite-sized, make them approachable, make it fun as well. And so Trail Hacks is kind of the concept that was born. So yeah, it's a fun approach to survival techniques.
Yeah, I really like that. I love that. And I appreciate that they're kind of bite size for like me who maybe needs some trail hacks in my life. Just being able to go into this series and like just get a couple 5-10 minutes. I get a couple of hacks, easy to digest, and then I can always come back for more. I think that's awesome. So thanks for doing that.
Absolutely.
Do you guys have a favorite episode of Trail Hacks?
Oh man. Well,
I don't know where you make the fish hook. That's one of my favorites.
yeah, that one's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just one episode. Well, I might be biased because I'm in it, but basically, yeah, we're kind of like out. Plus, we're doing something a little bit different. But for me, we're at this beach, and so here in Florida, we have so many amazing different fish varieties. But you might need to catch a meal, but you don't always have what you need right there in your hands to catch it with. And so, I was able to find some trash on the beach and actually kind of make my own custom fish hook. And so that was pretty fun. But yeah, we have there's all of them are really a blast. I think one of my favorites, and this is one that Hudson does. It's like later in the series, but it's an underground oven. Mm-hmm. So it's like, imagine you're out and you need to cook food, and you don't want to do it on a traditional fire. You can actually do it in an underground oven. So actually breaking that down, how you basically create almost like a crock pot pressure cooker that's underground that cooks food, everything from proteins like meat to potatoes and vegetables. Super fun trail hack, and it's all just by rocks. So really fun. There's all sorts of things.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know what my favorite is. There's such a variety. I think one of my favorites was there's a couple episodes where I'm actually filming in Montana in the deep snow, and for us that was kind of a new territory. We had to kind of learn how to survive in the snow. So we're up there for an extended period, and towards the end of the trip made some really fun trail hacks. But one of them was how to be hydrated in the snow, because when we first went up there, that was one problem that I was prone to, was dehydration on the trail. It's so cold and snowy, you don't really think about drinking water. But the trail hack of putting snow in a bottle and putting that in your thermos or underneath your thermal coating, and that heats it up and melts down the snow and then creates drinking water. Yeah. Key and Asher did that one. That was a fun one for me. I enjoyed watching that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like when it's cold outside too, you just don't think about it as much. So very smart. Are there any, did you guys know all of these skills before creating trail hacks, or did you learn them for the series? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, a lot of these hacks we actually just learned growing up, because we grew up in a very remote area out in the jungle. Our upbringing was to be missionary kids in the jungles of Papua, and so it kind of just came with the territory. All of our best friends were locals, and so the jungle was their backyard. And in order to survive, they're always out there gardening, they're always chopping firewood down, going out on hunting trips, and so we kind of just followed along with them, and they were masters of the jungle. So we've definitely picked up a few things, but since being back in the States the last couple of years, we've definitely learned a lot here. The U.S. has a whole host of trail hacks that you need to learn in order to survive, like snow. There's no snow over in the tropics. So I think a lot of it was our childhood. We definitely picked up a lot of things here in the States as well. There's a lot of really good, I would say, safety regulations that we've learned about too, because there's a lot more people here, and so you're out in the jungle, you don't necessarily have to worry about burning somebody's house down like Keem was talking about. But here in the U.S., there's neighborhoods, you got to be careful. So learned a lot about regulations, which has been, I think, a good safety tip for sure.
Well, and we made the series in partnership with Trail Life USA.
Yeah.
And they're perfect for survival tips and tricks to just bushcraft. And so we learned a lot from veteran trailmen.
That's awesome that you guys are able to partner with them. Have you guys, this is maybe a similar question, but knowing that you kind of grew up learning a lot of this, and then obviously you had various things that you've learned since coming back, and I'd love to hear any stories you have of times in your life that you maybe had to put these outdoor skills to use. That was a weird word. I kept saying youth. But how have you put them to use in your real life? Can you share some experiences with that?
Yeah, trail hacks is fun for us because it's in many ways very personal. There's many different points that we can remember during our childhood and younger, kind of teen years, where we're on the trail or in a certain scenario and we didn't have the necessary, knowledge, trail hacks in order to get the job done. And so we ran into a lot of hurdles. I remember one time we were on the coast and over in Indonesia, and they use these little outrigger canoes to paddle around, and that's kind of how you get around. And the first time I got in one, I was trying to paddle on both sides, and my little outrigger was just going in circles. I could not figure out how to get that thing to go straight. And I'd paddle, and on this side and all over. And one of our good friends, who was like a local boat builder, he was just cracking up on the beach, and he was like, "You have no idea what you're doing. Come over here." And he showed me the correct paddling method, and super simple how to use those strokes, and then he would use the paddle as like a rudder to kind of keep the outrigger going straight. And so ever since then, we've mastered canoeing. But prior to that, man, I had no clue. So that's just one example of kind of learning to hack along the way, and that kind of changed the trajectory. Now I'm a much more confident paddler on the water.
Yeah.
But what are some other examples?
There was another time I remember when we were on this hiking trip. We were on a mountain, and we had a big group. We had a bunch of friends come with us, and we were up on like the ridgeline of the mountain, and it didn't rain for like 3 days. And so up there on the ridgeline, there's no ponds or any water sources because it's just in the very peak. And so we totally ran out of water, and it was brutal because the closest water was probably like a day's hike away, and everyone was getting thirsty. People were dry heaving. It was like, oh man. So as we were able to figure out some fun trail hacks and actually find water in moss around us. So we squeezed the moss, and the moss had retained enough liquid in it for us to be able to drink, make it back down the mountain towards the water source.
Did not taste good, but we survived.
Yeah.
So
knowledge ahead of time, so we knew what to do in that situation.
Yeah.
And even
saved our
just
skins.
simple things like knot tying can be super helpful. Like it was actually just 2 weeks ago where I was on a river and I needed to tie up my canoe overnight without it drifting away. And so I remembered how to use a one-handed bowline, which is actually something we cover in the series. And it's a super basic knot. You can pull on as hard as you can, and it's never going to come undone. So I was able to just tie the bowline knot, and the canoe was good. And the next morning it was still there, so mission accomplished.
Let's go.
Very practical.
Getting some rain. Can you see that?
I was like, what is that above you?
In Florida, you never know. It's like it comes and goes pretty fast. It's going to make our challenge harder.
Yeah.
I know, a real challenge.
We'll try to prove the Wild Brothers can really pull us off.
Yeah. Those are great questions.
Yeah, to go back to it, like trail hacks, it really is. It came with the territory of growing up in the bush, off grid. And then along the way, we've refined and learned a lot of new trail hacks and in partnership with Trail Life USA as well. So it's definitely something that's unique to our childhood, kind of who we are, and it's something that we continue to learn and grow in. And that's really what we want to communicate in these hacks is that, survival, it can be very approachable. It doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be Bear Grylls all the time. A lot of this can be implemented right in your backyard, and it's fun along the way. So it doesn't need to be daunting.
Super fun.
Yeah.
I love that. Kind of going into your other show a little bit, we have, Off the Couch and Into Creation. Kind of when you're comparing these two series that you made, can you tell us what were some of the differences for you guys, or maybe what you enjoyed most about making trail hacks, maybe what was different between the two?
Yeah. I think what was fun about trail hacks is that, like in Off the Couch, where we're doing a lot of outdoor adventures.
Yeah.
In one particular episode of Off the Couch, I think episode 2, we do a survival shelter. So we're out in the woods and we're going to overnight in camp, and so we throw up a shelter. But in that episode, you don't really dwell on the shelter making aspect. It's kind of just you throw it up and you continue on with the adventure. What I thought was fun in trail hacks is that we slow down and really explain these fun activities. Whether it be, how to fish using a handline technique. We show that several times in Off the Couch, Into Creation series, but we don't really talk about it. Whereas in trail hacks, we can kind of slow down and just explain, hey, this is how you do it. This is the technique. This is how you implement it. And so we got to really kind of unpack a lot more in trail hacks, some of that bushcraft skill.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, Off the Couch kind of shows the adventures, but trail hacks is almost a good instruction manual to watch, so you can actually go out and do the same adventures yourself, replicate those. Yeah.
I think we enjoyed the short form content as well. It's fun to have like, you know, your mission at hand. We're gonna make it, you know, survival shelter and just have that nice direction. So that was really fun, I think.
Yeah, and like you said, in our fast-paced schedules, we oftentimes don't have, you know, the time to just like sit down and watch a 30-minute piece of content. So Off the Couch is a little bit more long form. It's fun to have, you know, 30-minute episodes. You really get in the adventure. That's great for a Friday night movie night, but oftentimes it's like, if you're a busy mom, it's, you know, it's snack time with the kids, and it's like, hey, what can we watch for 5 minutes? And that's where Trail Hacks comes in, because it's not as much of a commitment. So you can sit down, you can watch one. The next day you can watch another one. A lot of times they're broken down into like 3-part miniseries. So there'll be like 3 trail hacks, and they're all part of a cooking challenge, or you know, like how to navigate or tell time in the wild. You know, and so it's a really fun way to just start, enjoy some content, and pick it up, you know, the next day or an hour later without feeling like you have to commit to this episode. So I think those are some of the differences, but there's also definitely a lot of overlap, and the series definitely complement each other, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
We had fun filming both.
Yeah.
As long as we're outside, we're having a good time.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, is it still raining on you guys?
It
Did
stops.
It's gone.
It
Yep.
stopped? Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of trees overhead, so it's kind of natural cover. I'm good to go.
Okay. So, you know, we've seen Off the Couch. We have you know, these survival hacks that on trail hacks that you've shared with us. And now I think it's time we put you guys to the test with a little
Right.
fire starting challenge. Do you feel up to it?
See,
So-
the rain makes it extra challenging. I think we can still do this. Yeah. So for this challenge, we're going to do something special because, I mean, you can start a fire using a match or a lighter or friction, but we're actually not going to use outdoor stuff. We're going to use stuff that you can find right in your very own house. So this is my tiny house, so you guys come on in. Let's see if we can find something to make a fire with. So I think for today, what we're going to use is actually steel wool to make a fire. And actually, Trail Life USA, a trailman, taught me this method. It's super cool, and so I want to show you guys it today. I think I have some down here in my cleaning supplies. But yeah, this is steel wool, and it's like a fine mesh. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a battery and basically create a full current that goes through this, and it's going to create heat. So I have over here a little 9-volt battery, and see how it has the 2 terminals there? As soon as we connect that to the steel wool, it'll create a full circuit, and that's going to create a lot of heat. And steel wool is made mostly of iron, and so there's a lot of oxygen and iron in there. And with that current, it's going to create a lot of heat. And it's actually going to create a spark. And so we're going to use this to start our fire. So I'm really excited. Let's see if it'll work. But the steel wool is only going to create a spark. So we're going to need to find some fuel, some firewood out in the woods to actually get that fire going. So let's go grab some firewood. You guys ready?
Yeah, so the steel wool, it's going to be the perfect kind of starter. It's going to get the spark going. But yeah, we need something that's going to actually take the spark and ignite the first flame that's going to then go on to feed the kindling and the rest of the fire. So, I mean, we're in Florida. We have lots of creation around us, lots of ideal tinder. But one of the easiest things to do is just find pine needles, actually. We have pine trees everywhere here in Florida. And so you can just walk around the ground and, you know, pick up handfuls of pine needles. So this is what I'm going to use. This is going to take the spark really well. So I'm going to cut some more of this real quick.
Now I'm going to be after the kindling. So kindling, we're looking for, you know, small sticks and twigs, kind of like this one, maybe the size of like a pencil. And so we're kind of looking like this, and it just sprinkled a little bit ago, so it kind of got everything damp. A fun trail hack I actually learned from a trail man is to look up. So this is a good example. We have all these big trees above us, and their little branches kind of fall down and get caught in lower hanging trees or bushes, like this right here. That's going to be nice and dry because it's been hanging. It hasn't been on the damp ground. So that's just kind of a fun little trail hack. I'm going to find, I don't know, probably about 3 good handfuls.
Yeah, you need a lot of it.
And we should be good.
So the tinder and the kindling is going to get the fire going, which is super important, but it's not going to last long. Those things burn up pretty quickly, so we need a little bit more substantial firewood to keep the fire burning, and that's where the fuel comes in. So tinder, kindling, fuel. So Asher said, you know, the tinder is usually about the size of a pencil lead. Kindling is a little bit bigger, about the size of a pencil, but the actual fuel itself can be more like the size of your thumb and a little bit bigger. So right over here, I found some great fuel. This is actually a tree that fell down here in the backyard, and a minute ago, a big branch fell down, which is actually kind of intimidating. It's like a widowmaker, so this can happen all the time. But here I found some great fuel, and on the fuel, you see are all these little pine cones, and that's kind of another trail hack. Pine cones are great for burning, long-lasting burning, and so we're gonna just break off a bunch of these branches, and this is going to be the fuel that we use to keep the fire going while we have our conversation, and maybe even cook some food. We'll see.
Hey, Keon.
Yo.
All right, so while I was looking for my tinder, check this out. There's a big old spider right here.
Oh
I almost actually
man.
walked this guy. This
Dude.
guy's pretty big. You guys see that on the camera?
Yeah, you can see it.
Oh,
Nice one.
So you have the big one, got the two little ones. Oftentimes there'll be a few, but this is super helpful because we have like a lot of mosquitoes and a lot of other insects around. So he's gonna help limit the population. But I'm trying to see what species he is. There's so many different varieties. He looks like kind of a type of banana spider of sorts. Are there any spiders where you're at, Allie?
there are, but I hope there's not any that big. I mean, I guess to your point, they're helping you out, but
They are.
usually the ones
We're
I
happy.
see are a lot smaller.
Yeah, you have to be careful on the trails. I was literally just with my buddy out on a trail 2 days ago, and he was walking first, and he got one literally right in his face. It
Oh.
literally landed on his head, and he was like trying to bat it off, and so
Oh.
but, yeah, it's always cool to even appreciate some of the
Wow.
stereo. All right, guys, I think we have everything we need. We have an abundance of wood here, so.
This looks great, guys. Wow, yeah, that'll make a big fire. Yeah, and
You
hopefully
have the
it'll
owners.
start to kind of get rid of some of these mosquitoes. There's so many mosquitoes right now; it's crazy. So that would be nice.
Yeah, many times, a fire is useful for providing that warmth, or maybe a fire, a flame for cooking your food. In this situation, we don't really need it for warmth because we're in the, humid Florida, but the mosquitoes are really bad this year. This summer, it's just been like a bloom. I think all the rain has just caused them to be everywhere. So some smoke and some heat will be great for kind of warding off some insects here.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys, let's get started. So I'm fluffing up this steel wool. Let's see if this works, guys. I'm really excited. And we have our battery, and then I'm just gonna touch it to it, and we'll see if this creates a spark.
I'll be on standby here with the tinder.
All right.
We're gonna put this right on top and then blow it.
And guys, this is so great because literally, if everything goes to plan, this should be super easy. So if you guys want to try this at home, you're totally welcome to. But just make sure you have like an enclosed space to make your fire. We're doing this little outdoor stove right here. That way we're not endangering the environment around us. All right, ready, Asher?
All right, moment of
Get started.
truth. Let's do it.
Here we go, you guys
Yeah.
ready? Here.
What?
All right, put it on there.
A little bit of oxygen.
All right,
Got some tinder in there.
What?
nice. All right, so now we're gonna put our tinder on. Get that burning. Did you guys see that spark? That was crazy. All right,
Man, that
Oh,
works fast.
That
works
smoking.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
And then after we put our tinder on, we
can
got that flame. We need to put the after we put the kindling needs to go next.
Yep.
So the kindling is this medium-sized wood. So we're gonna put that on and try to get that lit before all the tinder burns out. We start to add that on. Thanks, Asher.
Yeah, no worries.
Get ourselves
You
a
don't
good
want
fire
to
going here.
swamp the fire with too much stuff. You kind of want to take it casual. Just add a few things here and there. What's bad is if you just suffocate it. You add too much on top. You can't let the oxygen circulate enough.
That's right. Oxygen is one of the most important ingredients in the fire, so you don't want to smother it.
Absolutely.
Sweet, that's looking good, guys. We're throwing some bigger pieces.
Yeah, it's
Here you go.
Grab some of this Asher, Morgan got tons.
Yeah. All right. Moving
yes,
on to
let's
the big
start
stuff.
with this kind of start.
Yeah, give me a little more.
Yeah,
Just stick on with that.
Awesome.
it's a little big.
So, Allie, a fun little surprise. When I was
Yeah.
collecting some wood, I came across a pine tree and it had all kinds of sap coming out of this. So I just kind
Okay.
of picked off the loose pieces of bark. This is a really fun trail hack because we're trying to repel all these mosquitoes. There's seriously so many of them. We're swatting like
Right.
crazy. Pine sap is a natural insect repellent. So because I found so much, we're gonna throw in little pieces once it starts to get going. And just the aroma of the pine sap will kind of hopefully deter the mosquitoes even more than just the smoke and the heat. So
Wait,
a fun little.
that's really cool.
That looks great. Yeah, and this is kind of dried. If anyone's ever messed around with pine sap, it's notoriously sticky and it
Yeah.
can stain your clothes and cause some skin irritation. But This is nice and dry, so it's easy just to handle with my hands. And it came right off. It was really easy to pick off. But this is a great little hack.
Yeah,
I might throw
I always get eaten alive by all of the mosquitoes when I'm outside. So that's great to know that can help in addition to the smoke and everything.
super flammable too. It's actually a really good fire starter.
Okay.
Definitely
We'll
have
just
look, it's kind of blown in the wrong direction though. It's going to be like in our eyes for the rest of the episode, plus the rest of the live stream.
Oh, good. Awesome. Super fun.
Yeah. Well, guys, this fire's looking good. You guys want some marshmallows?
Let's do it. You have some
I have
marshmallows?
some marshmallows in the house. Break them out. It sounds amazing.
Absolutely.
We won't be able to share any. That's
All right.
sorry, Allie.
It's okay. I'm like, I should have brought some to the studio. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah, so the fire's really picking up. And I just want to be careful at this stage when you're putting more, wood in, not to put your hand too close. But
Yeah.
it's looking beautiful.
Yeah, so
Really good.
for all of you guys at home, if you guys want to implement this after the live stream, I'd encourage you to do so. But make sure to have, if you're younger, to have a parent with you. You don't want to be making fires by yourself. So have some parental supervision. Like he mentioned earlier, make sure you do it in kind of an enclosed area, whether that be like a fire pit in your backyard or one of these cool what's it called?
Little smokeless,
Smokeless solo pit.
Yeah.
I forget what they're called. But yeah, that way you don't get the flames too high, too close to any houses. My father-in-law is in Montana, and he is always warning us about making fires up there because things get so dry and it just takes a spark to start a forest fire. So each different state has different regulations. It's important to look into those before you start your fire.
Right. Great reminder
Yes.
for those of them watching at home that want to try this. And for those of you watching at home, in just a little bit here, we will be doing a Q&A with the brothers. So if you have any questions, it can be about starting a fire or any other questions that you have for them, put them in the comments. We're going to be looking through those and answering a few questions from you guys. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. You guys have your marshmallows? Look at that.
We're all set.
I got my water. It's close.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Boys are going crazy with that firewood. Oh my goodness.
Does the sap
Awesome.
give off a specific smell? Like, can you smell the sap while it's burning in the fire?
Yeah, the pine sap does provide. It's almost like a candle. So it's definitely like a pretty strong scent. It's really nice, really fragrant, and
That's awesome.
the mosquitoes are gone. Now we're sweating, so it's definitely a trade-off.
Definitely worth it.
That's fair.
I don't know about you guys, but I like mine nice and toasted, so I'm gonna put it right in the thick of the fire there. There we go.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
That's way too
goodness.
crispy.
That is amazing. Well, are there any
So good.
other fire making tips or hacks that people at home should know before going off and trying this on their own?
I think one word of caution. Sometimes it's easy to go crazy. Like the fire brings out the craziness in all of us. We just want to make it bigger and bigger. So a general rule of thumb is, however wide your fire pit is, your fire well.
Yeah.
The width of your fire well should be similar to the height of the flame.
Okay.
So if your flame height is like 2 times as wide as your fire well, then you probably know it's a bit big and needs to be like beaten down a little bit. So don't just let the flame get out of control. I think that's one of the main
really good.
principles to keep in mind whenever you're building a fire. Other than that, as long as you take the proper safety precautions, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, parental supervision is helpful depending on how old you are.
Yeah. I'm in my 30s and I probably need a parent, so no. Just kidding.
Wow, that is a good mark.
Well, something that stands out about your show, to me and to a lot of people, is that you have an unapologetic stance on faith, and you really tie it in while you're teaching people these hacks. I'd love to know, what kind of inspires that, what brings you to bring those two together. And then is there something that learning these skills can teach people about their relationship with God?
Yeah, that's a great question, Allie. I think there's a lot that we can learn about the creator on the trail. survival tips are important, and even like this fire, just being able to create a fire is awesome because you can boil water, you can cook food, keep yourself warm. It's a great morale booster on the trail. So survival hacks are definitely important. But beyond that, in the series Trail Hacks, we really want to go deeper, like you said, and really get to the heart of who we are as people and our need for a relationship with God. And so I think like survival hacks are awesome, but life lessons, survival lessons for life are even more important. And that's really what we want to communicate at the heart of a lot of our videos, especially our outdoor adventure content. It's not just about having cool experiences on the trail, but it's about getting to the deep questions of life. And I think our lives in a lot of ways are like a trail. It's a great analogy. We're on a journey, and our lives are filled with highs and lows, like really awesome mountaintop experiences. And sometimes like you're trudging through the mud and you just don't know where you are. You're lost. And on our trail, in our course of life, there's so many big questions. Who are we as people? Like, is there a God? If there is, how can we have a relationship with him? What is the difference between good and evil? How do we know truth? Like, where do we find our identity? Like, these are like big questions that, everybody in our generation, are always asking and seeking. And so what's beautiful is that, that the Creator God, he actually cares about us, and he hasn't left us in the dark. Like, he hasn't left us just to be lost, on the trail, wandering aimlessly without a map. But he's actually given us like a guidebook for life, like a compass as a word that points true north, and that's his word, the Bible. So we really do strongly feel that God, he has given us his revelation, the scriptures, so that we can answer like big questions in life and have a starting point for truth. And so at Trail Hacks, it's more than just outdoor education. I think it's an opportunity to turn bushcraft into devotion as we grow in our own character and as we grow in our knowledge of the Creator. So it's definitely something that we try to bring into all of our outdoor adventure content.
Yeah, it is something that we're very passionate about, and so we really, really enjoy just giving all the glory back to God. And our motto really is like following Christ is the ultimate adventure. There's so many cool adventures out there to have, but giving your life up to Christ and following him, that's like the best, most exciting way to spend your life. So we're definitely passionate about sharing that, and that comes through in Trail Hacks.
Well, and I think another thing is that the Christian worldview, it's not compartmentalized, and so in everything we do, that can shine through. And so on the trail, what we've seen is that the best and the worst of you comes out. But on the trail, we love to just take moments of could be different activities, could be trail hacks that we're doing in the moment, and kind of just bring that full circle back to, hey, what's a good like life application or lesson to be learned in this. And so we try to kind of bring that to life through trail hacks. Sometimes it's just menial activities like filleting a fish and getting it ready to be cooked, but kind of going deeper and making some life applications from that. You'll see that those really kind of come through in the trail hack episodes.
It turns out a great fire starter is also marshmallows. Just saying.
Did you just light yours on fire?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, and I think something that's really cool too is, being out in nature does give you that time to reflect on life and kind of what you believe and things like that. So I love that you're kind of tying that together and that you do that in Trail Hacks. So thanks for sharing that piece of you as well as the skills that we need. Yeah. So we have some questions for you guys. There are, for those at home, again, if you have questions, it's not too late to throw them in the comments. But we do have a few that have come through that I'd love to ask you guys if you're open to it. And I'll just ask it, and whoever has an answer, you can go ahead and respond. And if multiple answers come out of it, that's great. So the first one I have is, let's see here. Where did you learn all these trail hacks?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, like a lot of them do go back to our childhood. So, for example, like one of the trail hacks is how to make a jungle snare. And so in the tribe that we lived in, our buddies were masters at taking like a stitch like this, and a little bit of vine and, some potato and, turning it into a snare and then catching dinner. And so that's something that, we grew up learning how to do. Paddling, Hudson already mentioned that. Finding water, that's a huge one. Sometimes you're out and you're actually, you don't have a water source. And so oftentimes what you do for that is you try to go downhill because oftentimes a river or a stream will be in the valley of the mountain range. And then you look also for kind of a change in the foliage where all of a sudden there's a lot more plants, trees, greenery because close to water sources, things like that we learned. And then also just like hunting, survival, shelters, all those things, playing fish.
Homemade slingshots.
That was a big part of our childhood actually was making little Ys, out of a tree limb, cutting them and then making slingshots out of those.
Okay.
So I think, a lot of it from our childhood. But since being back in the States, man, it's such a different environment over here. And so we found ourselves having to kind of relearn a lot of the basics to be able to survive here as well. Yep.
But I think a lot of it is just, it used to be kind of common knowledge. Even just talking to my grandfather that lives close by, a lot of the trail hacks that we implement, he kind of did growing up because he spent so many hours just outside.
Yeah.
And if you spend enough time, you kind of pick up on these things. Everyone needs to know how to start a fire, how to sharpen a knife and use a knife safely. My grandpa just picked that up just by being outside. So a lot of it, I think, just comes from we spend a lot of time in the outdoors as children in our teen years, and so a lot of the basics you just kind of learn or pick up naturally or learn from watching others do it. So
and what's crazy is that nowadays kids oftentimes only spend a matter of minutes outside, but they'll spend anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours on their phones, and so you kind of just see that disconnect from actually being out in nature and actually learning some of those just basic life skills. So that's really something that we're passionate about bringing back into our culture for kids is to get away from the devices a little bit and actually head outside, and really it helps you mentally, spiritually, physically. There's so many pros to it.
Because most like 3, 4, 5-year-olds know exactly how to unlock your mom's phone, get inside, do everything, selfie. But if you give them a rope, they don't know how to like tie a basic knot. So you see where people's priorities have shifted, and a lot of these basic things, like they said, have just been lost. So
So we got to start having the phones ready with trail hacks open, so when the kid opens it real quick, they're like, oh, and then they're inspired to go outside. Parents, write that down. No, just kidding. Again, if you guys want to watch trail hacks, just go to angel.com/trail. That's where you can find this awesome series that we're talking about today. Okay, we have another question for you. Let's see, they're going to throw it up here for us. Do you need access to nature to use trail hacks?
Whoa, that's such a good question. Yeah, because for a lot of people, they don't live in a city or something, so where you don't have access to the woods like we do right here. There's some of the trail hacks that you do need to be outside, like making a fire. You need to be somewhere outdoors where you can do that. But probably like 80% of the trail hacks you can actually do straight from your home, like learning how to tie knots, how to make a snare, how to put up an emergency shelter. You can do that in your living room. How to find direction using the sun. As long as you can see the sun, you can figure out that.
How to tell time in the wild.
How to tell time in the wild.
So, as long as you have a patio.
Yeah. So a lot of the trail hacks, you can practice them from home. You can learn how to do them. And really, that's probably what you want to do. Like practice it before you're actually out in a situation where you need to do it.
Yeah. So maybe you could take a family camping trip or something like that, or even go to a local park. But ahead of time, you could practice them at home and then be able to use that actually in its real application in the moment when you're there.
So you don't really have to have access to nature in order to learn the trail hacks, but they're fun to use outside.
Definitely encourage you to get off your couch a little bit if you can. Even if you're in an urbanized area, local parks, local trails, all those things are fun to go to.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good advice. Practice before you go out there and into the world and do it. Okay, we have another question here. It was, someone wants to know, what is Trail Life USA?
That's a great question.
Yeah, Trail Life USA, they're a Christ-centered, boy-focused, outdoor adventure organization. And they're all about taking boys and leading them on this journey of becoming a man. And basically doing that through discipleship. So being mentored by men, but in a troop context where there's fellow trailmen, anywhere from the ages of 5 to 17, and it's in that context of outdoor adventure. So there's badges that they have to earn. They serve their local community. They grow in their character and in their understanding of God's word. So that's kind of like the gist of the organization, but all with that context of like outdoor adventure and bushcraft skills.
Yep. And the good news is that there's troops like literally all across the U.S. now. In fact, there's a brand new troop that just opened up here in our tiny little town here in Florida. So most likely there's a couple of troops, near you, and it's a great thing to get your kids plugged into. Like a couple of us are dads, young dads. We have like little kids, and down the road we're definitely planning on, getting them involved in a troop because it's such an awesome experience. You get to bond with other peers, but also older mentors, men in communities and local churches. Learn some awesome outdoor skills like trail hacks, but along the way really be refined in your character and grow into the traditional values of men that are being lost, really. So.
It's also one of the coolest ways for dads to have really special time with their kids out in nature. It's almost just as much of a blessing as it is for kids as it is for their dads. It's their dads getting to get outside of the home, get outside of the regular concepts, out on an adventure with their kids and teach them life skills. And so there's so much bonding and discipleship that happens over that period of time. And so it's really a blessing for the whole family, I think.
Yeah.
There you go, marshmallows.
Saving it for later.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And again, for those that just joined, that was Trail Life USA that we were talking about. Okay, there is another question that came in for you guys. Let's see. Fire starting sounds cool, but how do I try it without burning my house down?
Yeah, that's good.
A good question.
I hit on safety a few minutes ago, but the basic rule of thumb is, first of all, look into the regulations of your local area. Every state is different. Like if you live in California, it's like you're on high alert all the time. You got to really watch out, right? If you live in really wet environments, then it's
where it rains on
you all the time. Then it's less likely to get a problem. But generally, if you have a 10-foot radius between the fire, your fire well, and flammable things, you're going to be safe. And the main thing I think is making sure that the flame again isn't higher than the width of your fire well. So in this case, this is a foot and a half or something. Yeah. You don't want an 8-foot flame. That would be bad. That could actually go up and on the tree on fire or this side of this house. So I think just keeping those basic things important, and then making sure you're not burning yourself with the lighter, matches, all those
parental supervision.
Yeah, making sure that you have knowledgeable people with you.
And then when you walk away, put it out before you leave.
Yes, thank you. That's the other thing. Yeah, don't just leave a big raging fire on its own. Make sure if you're done with it that you douse it out with water, and then you're good to go. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing those. All right, next question is there something I can use instead of pine sap as an insect repellent? Good question.
Yeah, I know that citronella works really good. So you can actually, this type of plants, you can have citronella plants, or I actually have a couple citronella candles that I keep here at the tiny house just when I'm outside because it's quick to light and it works pretty good. But I think the pine sap works the best in my opinion.
Okay.
There's also a lot of essential oils, lemongrass.
Yeah, lemongrass. There's an urban myth that garlic also keeps mosquitoes away, but if you do eat a lot of garlic, you're also gonna keep all your friends away. So it's kind of it's risky, but you can do that too. Traditional toxic bug spray.
That's what I was
Walmart,
gonna say. Good old bug spray.
Yeah.
You might get sit in campus. You won't get malaria.
Awesome. I'm I need to write those tips down because that's always my biggest struggle is those bugs like to bite me when I'm out in the wilderness. So, okay, it looks like we may have another question here. This question says, is it really possible to start a fire with a magnifying glass? Ooh.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually one of the secret ways you can use a magnifying glass. Most people just think that you can use them to zoom in on things, which they're great for that too. But when you're outside, you'll notice if you're getting up close to something, oftentimes you'll see a kind of the focus of light going to one point. And that's basically harnessing the power of the sun, all that energy, and it just creates on one focused point.
and it gets super hot. And so if you bend it and turn it around just right at the right angle, it can be like a tiny, tiny point. And yeah, it's super hot. So be careful. Don't put your hand down there because it will actually like burn your hand.
Oh,
Yeah. Do you have
wow.
any kind of or just like a tissue or something? Man, it'll burst into flame pretty easily. So yeah, just be careful. You know, sometimes like you might be like, looking at an ant or like a little bug. You're like, oh, he's so cool. You actually burn them because it's like,
Poor little guy.
you know, it's close to insects. You might actually be hurting them.
I think
yeah.
I think we covered that in one of our episodes too.
Yeah.
In one of our later episode 24
Episode
or
20.
something. We do like a
Yeah.
couple like fire 4 ways.
Yeah.
And one of them, there was a young trailman with us, and he was showing us how to do it with a magnifying glass. It's a fun method.
Yeah,
Oh.
for sure. That's a fire. There's literally like dozens of methods to do it. It's really fun.
Or you can just wait around and hope that lightning strikes. You know.
Yeah.
You never know. I might get lucky. So, anyways.
They might be waiting for a while. That's awesome.
It's dinner time.
I know. Come on. Okay. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Okay. What is the most difficult environment to trail hike in?
Oh man. I mean, I would have to say, like, honestly, where we grew up was one of the jungle. There's different types of jungle, but where we lived, we were up in the highlands of Papua, Indonesia. We were about 7,000 plus feet. And so, you know, to get anywhere, it was not a flat road by any means. It's just the jungle goes like this, up and down. And for the specific environment where we grew up in, you actually very rarely saw the ground. It was mostly just foliage and trees that had fallen over and moss that was growing in between. So sometimes if you step off the trail just a little bit, your leg would actually go shooting through the moss like 4 feet. You know, you go up to your thigh. Moss. And so it was very, very tricky just to hike. Like we had some really good hikers that came and visited us who had been all over the Appalachian Trail and, you know, all around the world, but they were humbled pretty quick by our trails just because they're so treacherous. And
That's international. Let's talk about the U.S. What are some hard hiking trails in the U.S.?
Let's see. Montana is pretty hard.
That's probably the hardest place that we've hiked in the States is Montana. Yeah,
Really?
once you start getting man, it takes it out of you. You know, we're just Florida boys, so we're used to like being at sea level.
Climbs.
Yeah, we have a hard.
The Appalachian Trail. We've had several friends that hiked that and said portions of it were really, really intense.
Tough.
So,
Man.
every ecosystem is different and brings its unique challenges. Like it's very sandy where we are, and so we do a lot of local hiking, and hiking in sand can actually be pretty difficult because you know you're always hiking, you know you're walking, and your sand your foot sinks in a little bit. So every terrain brings its challenges, but definitely at high altitude and any kind of terrain that's like big up and downs, you know.
Yeah, and my least favorite terrain is like swamps. So we have some swamps here in Florida, like Everglades. Growing up in Indonesia, there's a lot of swamps at the lower elevations, like infested with venomous snakes and crocodiles, but also just thick mud and itchy reeds. So to me, that's like my least favorite environment to hike because you're miserable. There's all these insects and bugs. You got to watch out for the venomous snakes, and you're just wading through mud, and you got all those itchy plants. So for me, I take the elevation any day. It's like it's the swamps that are my environment.
Your boots get stuck in the mud,
Yeah.
and your foot gets stuck. Man. You can't pull it out, and then you start like sinking.
Wow. So what I've learned is you guys are very brave. We're talking massive spiders, snakes, your feet get stuck in the mud, and you just make it through. I'm very impressed. I don't know if I could be as tough and brave. So we have a comment that came in that we want to throw up here for you guys. Mike says, "Love the Wild Brothers."
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
They said it's. My live stream. I got my little ear here. They said that the last name is Mike Wild, and we're like, maybe do you know a Mike Wild?
That'd be your dad.
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
It's probably on.
That's so
Let's see,
cool.
what time would it be?
He's in Indonesia right now, so it'd probably be 9 in the morning or something.
Early in the morning.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning, Dad.
I love that. That's awesome. We're glad that you're on the stream, Mike. So thank you guys so much for, some tips, doing the fire challenge with us today and answering some of our questions from our audience. We do want to ask you guys at home for your thoughts. So we've been seeing a lot of positive feedback from the Guild for trail hacks. So we thought that we'd ask all of you what you want to see in future Trail Hacks episodes. So you can send in your requests and thoughts to the Wild Brothers at angel.com/wildthoughts. So they're going to, there's a QR code or you can type that in and just share with them. What hacks would you like to see? Let's see, are they, oh yeah, both are up there. And then you guys are actually going to be reviewing these, right? To maybe inspire upcoming episodes?
Yeah, we're planning on doing shooting some episodes for season 2 later this year. So, any of you in the audience, if you guys have ideas of things you want to see, some interesting hacks that you're curious about, like I'd love to know how to do this. Go ahead, feel free to throw in your thoughts. We'll be reviewing those, and some of those may even turn into episodes in season 2. So, we love feedback.
Yeah. FYI, the filming location might include Alaska. So if you have a couple ideas for like cold weather or bear attacks or anything related to that, feel free to include those as well.
Oh my gosh, I love that. All right, guys. Again, if you have any things that you want to see in season 2, go to angel.com/wildthoughts, and they will be reviewing those and using some of those as inspiration. So that's really exciting and a cool way to get involved. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. This was awesome to get to know you a little better, to hear, insights about the series Trail Hacks. And for those of you at home, thanks for joining us. We've had an excellent evening. Again, write in. If you haven't seen Trail Hacks yet, it's available right now at angel.com/trail. You are not going to want to miss this series. It is not only helpful and insightful, but a really fun watch. And if you are interested in keeping up with future live streams, keep an eye on our social medias. We will be posting about when you can catch us again. So thank you guys so much again for joining us. Hope you enjoy your marshmallows. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Hi, we're the Wild Brothers, and we're partnering with Trail Life USA to bring you Trail Hacks, essential tips you need to know in order to be a better trailman.
More pine needles.
Deshaun, see, the free line technique is very effective. We got dinner tonight.
All right, so we need to find some shelter. It's really important to make this rope nice and taut. For the Christian, God is our refuge. He's our ultimate sanctuary.
You're watching Trail Hacks.
Trail Hacks.
Trail Hacks. Trail Hacks.
Now streaming on Angel.